Good evening. I'm Brian Polvino. I'm the Superintendent of Schools of the Fulton City School District. I'm going to be joined this evening with Kate Hooper, our Business Administrator, and we'll be sharing in the 2025-26 budget proposal, which you will have the opportunity to vote for on May the 20th, 2025. I'd like to first thank all of the members of our Fulton City School District learning community for their ongoing support and unwavering commitment to our students. And I'd like to express my gratitude to the Fulton City School District staff and the entire school community for just being there for our kids each and every day. A special thanks to our staff and our community members who make our schools come to life each and every day, and all of our classrooms. Truly appreciate all that you do, and thank you to our Board of Education for all the work and the effort that you've put into developing this budget. And I think you see on one of the slides we've had quite a few opportunities for input and feedback back and forth. The purpose of this evening's meeting is to discuss the $94.2 million budget for the 2025-26 year. We've spent a lot of time with careful planning and really looking at the economic challenges, which you'll hear about this evening. The focus is on a commitment to our students, the Fulton City School District vision and mission, being as transparent and provide opportunities, as many opportunities as possible for input and community involvement. So if we could move into the slides, please. So the first thing that we always take into consideration is the vision, mission, and values that we have here in the Fulton City School District. And the vision is, our vision is to create a learning organization as the centerpiece of the community where all are welcomed and held to standards of excellence that foster hope and resilience for the future. Our mission is the Fulton School community will empower students to develop the knowledge and skills to become respectful, responsible, productive citizens who are committed to lifelong learning. And then our Dragon Way, which has come to fruition over the last year or so, with a focus in every one of our classrooms and for our kids on drive, wisdom, and resilience. And we take these into consideration with everything that we do and all of the decision making that we're doing. The next slide is more of a visual orientation of what we're looking at. The center is our learning and wellness and life pathways for our students. You're going to be hearing more about the portrait of a graduate in the coming months, and that's the direction that New York State's taking. And we in the Fulton City School District had already been kind of with our focus on that area already. So we're a little bit ahead of other districts, so I'm proud of that. But it's learning, wellness, and life pathways. That's everything about our kids, surrounded by the systems and structures, and then ultimately a culture of support and high expectations for staff and students. Around the outside of our diagram there, you'll see it breaks into and aligns with the state. We've got 6 areas: systems and organization and school leadership, and is in that systems and structures. We've got tenets 3 and 4 around curriculum and instruction. That's everything that's happening in the classrooms for our kids each and every day. And then tenets 5 and 6 are really focused on social emotional learning, behavioral supports, family and community engagement. All of those components together, they need to be symbiotic and working together so that great things can happen for kids. And this is something we've been working on and evolving, and this is where we've evolved to in our strategic coherence planning process. Next slide, please. I mentioned there had been many opportunities for feedback, and there's been a number of meetings, and I thought it really captured the essence of the number of meetings that we've had. We've had regular board meetings, we've had budget workshops, we've had community budget forums. We did them both virtually and in person. We have tonight's budget hearing. We have a regular board meeting next Tuesday. We've got another community budget forum for anybody to come and ask questions. And we have a budget vote in the election on the 20th. We also have, we've had the opportunity of an email that was on our website, and you could email in questions. We'd respond right back. There's an FAQ on the website as well with responses to any of the questions that we received. So again, a lot of opportunity to attend meetings, hear what's going on, provide input, and I think that helps us design a budget that hopefully reflects and can meet the needs of our kids next year. Next slide, please. So the 2025-26 proposed budget. So we'll continue to support and prioritize, and as I mentioned, kids are at the center, and student safety is a priority. Staffing for supervision, school patrol officers at all the schools, behavioral, emotional, and mental health supports for our students are maintained in this budget, even though we had to make reductions. Academic programs are in the place with those support systems to provide students additional support as needed, such as special education services, academic intervention services, opportunities for college level courses in person and online. Very proud of the fact that we have, I believe, 65 college courses available at G. Ray Bodley High School. That's driven a lot by our early college high schools, of which we have 2, as well as the wide range of opportunities that we provide for our students, and they're in-person and online, predominantly in-person based. Extracurricular activities, we've got our community school programs, our sports, our music programs, our clubs, and our organizations stay intact in this budget. Next slide, please. Some of the factors that are impacting the 2025-26, and they're heavy, is escalating healthcare, operating costs, the cost of doing business, as across the country you can see the cost of doing business is escalating, and just contractual increases as well. The healthcare cost is one of those areas that's really hitting us. It's actually 56% over 3 years, so we're projecting, if we're looking at that 23-24 increase, that was an increase approximately 17%, 25% in 24-25 from the previous year, so you can start to add these in, and we're projecting 18.34. When you look at that 3-year snapshot, that's a 56% increase in healthcare costs for the city school district, and I believe, is it on the next slide?
We had a graph we've
Okay.
shown several times. It's not on the next slide, but when we've shown it, it's a 10-year study where you can see that for the first 7 years, our healthcare stayed relatively flat. If it did go up, it would stabilize or come back down, and then starting in 23-24, it's been a sharp increase, and we're not seeing that same stabilization yet that we had seen over time in the 10-year history that we had shown on our graph.
And we talked from auditors that came in from outside, took a look. It really was something they said we couldn't even predict because we had been so nice and flat and very predictable. But being self-insured, I think that's created a bit of the challenge as well. And healthcare costs are increasing across the country. We're looking at a number of different strategies to address that and flatten that out. And I'm hoping that as we continue to move forward, there'll be some solutions, hopefully before I leave the helm here. If not, I'm sure it'll be in good hands. Next slide, please. Also, another area was gas and electric costs have gone up as well. You can see from 23-24, 24-25, 25-26, which is projected, we're looking at an overall increase of over 55% and 60% on the electric side. Anything you'd add to that? Okay. And then contractual increases during the budget process. Contractual raises are one of the first factors to consider. The contractual increases are a negotiated obligation that must be a part of the annual budget. They're predictable costs, so that helps obviously in the design of the budget. This is a predictable factor that we calculate each year as part of the budget as we roll over. Next slide, please. The proposed tax increase for 25-26 is 1.9%, or the equivalent of $431,000 and $390. Historically, the previous 10 years, the district has increased the tax levy by 1.2% on average, and this represents a $2.5 million increase over 10 years, as opposed to the allowable $5 million. So the overall was really around 2.5% a year. If you took that over 10 years and multiply that, I think we've been very fiscally responsible, keeping that right around the, on average, 2.2% ongoing. So I think there's always been a commitment here, at least from the time I was here and then before, because I remember seeing those longitudinally. This board is very focused on how do we make sure that we are fiscally responsible. So thank you to the board. Next slide, please. The estimated impact, and this was actually some feedback we received from the community, so thank you to those individuals who said, can we see it more in a way, what would the actual costs in a household be after basic star exemption? These are predictions. So you want to go over this slide? Or?
I can do that, yeah.
Right.
So these are estimates. They're based on the information that we have. The tax rates for the upcoming year won't get to us until sometime over the summer. So we use the information that we had from last year to come up with an estimate, just to give people an idea of what they could expect to see based on their assessment. And again, the school district doesn't control the assessments or set the tax rates or equalization rates. but we just thought this might help give a different level of understanding. So for a house assessed at $100,000, you can expect an estimated increase per year of $34.58. A house assessed at $200,000, an estimated increase could be $83.98. And a house assessed at $300,000, an estimated per year increase would be $133.38. And then we thought it might help to break it down a little bit farther. That's the per year increase, but then, many bills are paid on a monthly basis. So this would be the per month increase for the same different assessments. So a $100,000 or a home assessed for $100,000 per month, you could expect an estimated increase of $2.88 per month. A home assessed for $200,000, you could expect a $7 increase per month. A home assessed for $300,000, you could expect an increase per month of $11.12.
You want to do this part?
Sure. Then the projected revenue for the 25-26 budget. You can see on the left-hand side, the pie chart shows the percentages of the types of revenue we expect to receive, with state aid being the largest portion, which is expected. 69.2% of our revenue would be in the form of state aid. The tax levy proposed would make up 24.6% of the revenue. And then the section of the pie chart that is 6.2% labeled other. That's other revenue, such as any federal money we might receive, any leases, sort of miscellaneous revenue, plus the district has made the decision to use some of its reserves to help close the gap between revenue and expenditures, to avoid further reductions or further tax increase in the form of $3.85 million in reserves. We waited a long time to receive the final state aid runs. We just received them last evening. There were some changes in foundation aid and in BOCES aid. Fortunately, they canceled each other out, so our projected revenue is intact, and our 94.2 million number is good to go. So those are our revenue numbers. Then when we talk about the expense side of the budget, we talk a lot about the three-part budget, and I wanted to take some time to really break down the three components, talk about what is in each one, and then show some numbers in each component, just so everyone can try to get an understanding, when we talk about the program component. So what does that mean? So the program component is really made up of, if you think about a lot of the required programs we have in a school, the regular school programs, special education programs, special schools, by that I mean summer programs or occupational education, student services, extracurricular programs, transportation, any employee benefits associated with the teachers in the program component or employees in the program component. Interfund transfers to special programs. What that means is the district has a certain responsibility to the extended school year program for our students with disabilities. So that's our contribution to that program, with the rest of it being state aided. So we make an interfund transfer to that particular program. Then just some bullet points to even break that down a little farther. So what you might see in that component is salaries for teachers, TAs, and aides. In fact, that makes up over 36% of the overall budget. Also in that portion of the budget are supplies and materials related to regular schools, special education, special schools, student services. Textbook money is located in that portion of the budget. Technology materials, library materials, special education programs, as we said, school nurses, student support services such as counselors, social workers, school psychologists. I mentioned summer programs, extracurricular activities such as athletics, clubs, music programs, and student transportation. So hopefully knowing some of the items that are in there, then when you see the numbers, it might make a little more sense because those are large categories. But so when you see regular school, it might help to know that it's not just salaries. Salaries are a large part of it, but there are salaries, there are supplies, there could be some contractual expenses in there. Same with special education, special schools, student services. Then of course, as I said, employee benefits associated with any employees that are paid out of this component of the budget. The interfund transfer that I spoke about as well. Then we'll do the same for the capital component. So that includes the operation of the plant, maintenance of the plant, debt service, again, any employee benefits associated with employees in this component of the budget, and the interfund transfer to capital. We don't have an interfund transfer to capital in this budget. What that would be for is if we were going to do a capital outlay project, which is a $100,000 project. We're not proposing one of those this year, so you will not see an interfund transfer to capital. But that's what it would be if that was part of the budget. But some of the bullet points that make up the capital portion of the budget, there are salaries for our custodial and maintenance workers. Those salaries make up about 3.4% of the overall budget. Custodial and maintenance supplies, all of the supplies needed to maintain the grounds and the facilities, cleaning supplies, supplies to make repairs when things break or things go wrong. A lot of different contractual expenses in this category. Snow removal, sand and salt, the gas and electric that Mr. Polvino spoke about is located in this portion of the budget. Trash and recycling, boiler maintenance, water and sewer. Also located in this component of the budget is safety and security expenses and our debt service, which is where we pay back the money borrowed to complete capital improvement projects. And then you see the numbers associated with those different larger categories. And then finally, the administrative portion of the budget. That includes the Board of Education, central administration, which means superintendent, school supervision and curriculum supervision, makes up your principals, directors, executive directors. Finance means school business. Personnel means human resources. BOCES administrative services. That really is kind of one large cost that is we pay to BOCES each year as part of their administrative budget for really purchasing all of the different services that we purchase at BOCES, and employee benefits associated with the employees in this portion of the budget. And again, there are several other smaller items that are part of those large categories. Again, of course, there are salaries. Administrative salaries make up about 2.85% of the entire budget. There are also clerical salaries in this portion, supervision aid salaries, the business office and human resources office, salaries and operating expenses are located in this part of the budget. Expenses related to New York State required annual audits, our legal expenses, civil service charges. Certain positions were required to partner with civil service. Expenses related to tax collection. As I mentioned, the BOCES administrative charges, which are based on our enrollment, also central data processing fees, and all of these things support the BOCES programs that we contract for. Board of Education, so that's mainly the bulk of that is the cost of the election and the numerous required notices that we publish in the newspaper, and then a few board trainings each year. Also, insurance costs and postage are located in this portion of the budget. And then you see the actual numbers that go with those broader categories we mentioned. Then when we break the three-part budget down, you can see the numbers that make up the $94,197,840 overall budget, as well as we like to break it down into percentages. You always want to see the program component as the largest percentage, which it is at 95.7%. Capital at 14.7%. And administrative at 9.6%. And then if you look at that, just to give it some context compared to 24-25, it's in the same ballpark. However, one thing to note is, although we had to make reductions, we were able to push that program component to a bit higher of a percentage while reducing the capital and administrative components by a touch. So
which I think shows the commitment to trying to drive it as close to the kids as possible, the resources and the supports. So to see the program go up, I think that's the highest we've ever been here in Fulton since I've been here. And I believe that's the lower for the capital and the administrative. So it's the direction you want to see it. If you have to make reductions, you have to target resources to see, and the numbers show it, that it's being driven to where it belongs, and that's as close to the kids as possible.
Just a pie chart showing, again, some different expense categories with salaries and employee benefits being large slices of the pie. Also, BOCES services being a large expense or a larger expense, contractual expenses. Debt service is about 4.3%, and then smaller categories are things like materials and supplies and equipment.
And the benefits was which
the benefits is the lighter blue at 26.9%, and the salaries is the darker blue. So you can see that between salaries and benefits, that's nearly 70% of the overall budget. This is another way to break down the budget. So this is the proposed budget by expense description. And again, just as a reminder, these lines don't represent single items, but groups of items that fall under the same category or function in the budget. Just gives a little bit more detail than the numbers under the three different parts of the budget did. So, as I said, when we were looking at the admin portion, you can see auditing and tax collecting and legal kind of have their own lines there. And then in a couple of slides, I'll show an example of how in this sort of description of the budget, you have one category that looks like a really large number and it's one line, but if you looked at it, 2110 is teaching. It has over 100 budget codes. So it's not just one large item, it's actually comprised of 100 smaller items. Some, being larger than others, but, it's just a more detailed way of looking at the budget, but it's not, every single line. And then this final slide is all of the benefits that when we show the three-part budget, they get distributed among the three parts. In this representation, they're undistributed, so they're their own section, kind of.
So there's multiple categories in many of these categories.
Yeah.
So, for example, the chief financial officer, I do not make $303,000. What we have is you've got your clerical that's a part of that office, and all the other components of doing business are in there as well. So there's subcomponents in each of those areas. So I just want to draw that's a good example because that's these numbers don't just depict that. There's multiple codes within each one of these that break it out that you can see on a line by line.
That's right. That's what I meant by the 2110, the teaching code. it's one very large line in this representation here, but there's over 100 singular budget codes within that. We did want to talk a little bit about just summarizing how we got to our final budget number. We did make some significant reductions. We reduced $5.1 million from our initial rollover budget. This included a careful analysis of needs and spending on supplies and materials, equipment, BOCES services, other contractual services, employee benefits, salaries, and ultimately 59 positions. But, right from the beginning, when we started the rollover budget, we really looked at everything, and any place where we could try to reduce a little bit or save some money, we did right from the get-go. Most of the reductions of the 59 positions were accomplished through retirements, resignations, and fair dismissals. We did want to put the slide up one more time to show the areas where the position reductions took place. And again, keeping in mind that these don't all represent layoffs, but total reductions. Again, as we said, most of these were accomplished through retirements, resignations, or fair dismissals. Anything to add, Mr. Colton?
No, I think that accurately depicts it. We really look at every bargaining unit, every area, every line is looked at as we were making these reductions. We bring those to the board, having those conversations. And what we tried to do was maintain high levels of supports and services for kids to the best of our ability. And then also be able to, we repurposed some positions. We did all sorts of different kinds of things. We tried to put staff in the best positions for success to provide supports for students. And I believe that, we spent, and it'll continue as we go into the next school year. Again, as new kids come in or new problems, we've anticipated a lot of different things. We've reformed some different types of configurations for special classes, things like that, to better serve the needs of the students as they're presenting at this current time. And we made adjustments throughout the course of this year to better serve kids' needs, because if we didn't say just this way it was in September, it needs to look the same in June, we need to make adjustments, and that's what we did.
And we've received some questions throughout the process about what does a contingency budget mean? And I thought Mr. Palvino really explained it well in the budget newsletter, so I stole or borrowed an excerpt that I thought he could explain himself, because it was his writing.
Yeah, so, we did receive a question from one of our constituents, and that's why it's important that we do these forums, because this was a great question, that what would happen if the budget didn't pass. And so it would necessitate a second vote or a contingency budget, leading to significant reductions in crucial areas such as equipment, community access to our facilities, extracurricular activities, field trips, athletics, classroom supplies. This isn't the path we want to take, as it would severely impact the enriching experience that was what we provide our students. When you saw that previous slide, we reduced over $5.1 million out of the budget already. What this would do, it would further have to go back in and reduce supports, services, resources, opportunities for kids to be able to meet that need. The contingency budget is published in the budget newsletter, which will be arriving in your homes in the coming days. All of that information is there, so you can see that. But that's why that's important. It takes us further beyond where we're at. We went 59 positions is pretty significant, coupled with all of the other reductions that we made around supplies, materials, equipment, so on and so forth. So it would just take us another cut to be able to get there. The items reduced in a contingency budget are significantly reduced funds to pay for extracurricular opportunities such as our athletic programs, musicals, plays in the arts, clubs, organizations, limited funds for field trips, equipment purchases, additional reductions in supplies and materials, additional reductions of contractual expenses, extremely limited use of district facilities by community organizations. These are all part of the statutes. So these are things that we have to follow in many of those areas, especially the access to the community organizations is actually a very large one that we would have to address. some salaries and miscellaneous salary expenses, substitute clerical, funds for meetings outside of school hours, and so on. So that would be areas that would really be focused on in a contingency, or would be looked at as areas. Those areas would be brought back to the board, whether it's if we move forward to a second vote, or if we went to a contingency budget, that information would provide to the board, and they would provide that direction to me as we move forward.
Then reviewing the propositions that the voters will see on May 20th. The first proposition being the budget. We'll vote on the sum of $94,197,840 as the general fund appropriation for the 25-26 school year. Proposition 2 is the purchase of student transportation vehicles, authorizing the purchase of 2 replacement 7-passenger vans to replace a couple of very old vans that are currently in our fleet. Proposition 3 is the sale of property at Erie Street, the building and grounds at a price and upon such terms as deemed proper by the Board of Education. And finally, Proposition 4 is the library tax proposition that would be in the amount of $544,131. Just a quick update on our remaining timeline. Again, as Mr. Polvino mentioned in the beginning, we do have a regular Board of Education meeting on Tuesday, May 13th. One remaining community budget forum on May 15th, and then the budget vote on May 20th, and a meeting on May 21st to ratify the budget and election results.
The regular board meeting and the community budget forum are both right in this room here at the Education Center, which is the Board of Education meeting room. It's hard to describe this one, but this is really a slide that really just talks about the vote when it's May 20th, 2025, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Also on here, it talks about the election districts. It's got the photograph when it's really on either sides of the river. If you have questions about your voting location, there's 2 locations. One's at the municipal building on this side of the river, and then on the other side, the War Memorial on the other side of the river. So we've got the 2 election districts. And if you have any questions, please contact my office, reach out. We can tell you which side of the river or where your voting place is, so there's no confusion. I guess that's what I would say about that. There should also, I believe, we've made no changes in that. We'll have the posters rolling at 9 a.m. and they'll roll till 9 p.m. that evening. So.
Finally, this is probably difficult to see, but we will post this presentation on the website. This is just a quick screenshot of what to expect when you see the ballot, what it's going to look like. You see the propositions you'll vote for, as well as voting for our Fulton Board of Education seats, as well as the library board seats. And then we would like to close with a short video.
Before we play that, can we wait 1 second? Just
sure.
One other thing. I would just like, before we go on to the video, which is just a great way to capture the impacts on kids with resources, just a reminder that please reach out to us if you have any questions whatsoever. Telephone calls, emails. We have on the website under the budget, we have a specific email for the budget, goes right to Ms. Hooper. She answers those questions on the same day. We then post those answers right on the FAQ. If you have any question whatsoever, no matter what, it's a good question, because chances are other people may have the same question. And so please reach out. We want you to be informed. We want you to have all of the information you need to make a decision, an informed decision. And this budget represents the next great opportunity to lead our kids and prepare them for when they leave. And it's so interesting. I've been talking to some juniors and seniors, and as they talk about what they want to do when they graduate and what they're going to be doing, I believe some of those things, the goals that they're talking about, their ambitions and the things that they want to accomplish in their lives, it's very clear that they draw it back to a lot of the experiences they're having in the pre-K-12 experience. And they talk about it and they glow about it. And that's what our budget does. That's what those dollars do. And that's how we do it. I know that our kids are the best barometer. And we've got a lot of work to do. We've got a range of our kids. But this budget, best supports our kids at this point in time. And I believe, even though I will be at the helm, I believe this will lead us into that next stage for this school district to be successful for every child every day. So I wanted to say that before we show this great video that highlights our kids.
And if you can watch till the end of the video, I'll put that email address up on the last slide.
All right, thank you.
At Fulton City School District, our mission is to empower students to develop the knowledge and skills to become respectful, responsible, productive citizens committed to lifelong learning. The proposed 2025-26 budget reflects that commitment. Over 75% of the budget is dedicated to programs that directly benefit students, from strong academic instruction to crucial support services. The budget means that safety is a top priority. It continues funding school resource officers in every building and ensures our facilities, including our athletic complex, remain safe and well maintained. The budget means that students at GRB can choose from 65 college-level courses, plus hands-on career and technical education options that prepare them for the future. The budget means continued investment in academic intervention, special education, and emotional support services, so every student has the tools they need to succeed. The budget means the community schools model thrives, offering after-school programs, summer learning, and events that bring families together in partnership with local organizations. The budget means that extracurricular opportunities remain strong, because learning doesn't stop when the school day ends. From sports and musicals to clubs and art shows, there's something for everyone. The budget means supporting our educators, providing professional development that helps them grow so they can continue inspiring our students. The 2025-26 proposed budget is more than numbers. It's a reflection of our community's values. Together, we're building a brighter future for every student in Fulton.
All right, and there is the FCSD budget at fulton.cnyrip.org email address. And any questions from anyone here?
Alrighty, well, thank you again. If there's any questions, thank you, Ms. Hooper, for all of your work on this budget. Once again, thank you to my Board of Education, who has been super supportive over my last 9 years, but also lockstep when we're going through the budget process. So thank you. And I'm looking forward to any questions or anything you have to ask. Please send Ms. Hooper any questions that you may have. And with that, thank you for participating. And I look forward to an outstanding end of the 24-25 school year and looking forward to watching the 25-26. Thank you. Have a great evening.